Well, I'm very happy to be joined in the ITTN studio by Brian Young, who's the MD of G Adventures. Brian, thanks very much for talking to us. I guess let's just start with, tough year and a half for everybody, but certainly for G Adventures.
Yeah, I think, like you say, everybody, last 18 months has thrown a big curveball for the whole of the travel industry to, pick up, adapt, cope with, work through. But yeah, it's been a long 18 months. Travel's obviously started to come back now. We're fairly fortunate position as a business. We've been operating tours since last September, but that's because of the globality of our organization, having, big business in North America, Canada, and then Europe and the UK and Ireland and such like. So we've had a lot to do in that period of time, clearly from the very start of the pandemic, in terms of just get to grips with the pandemic. What's that mean in terms of suspending tours? And then looking at our business saying, okay, right, where are we? How long do we think this pandemic is going to go on for? And then really settling down and saying, okay, what are the things we're going to need to do to protect the business in the first instance, which I think everybody has worked through over that 18 months. And then at the same time, looking at what are our customers going to be needing from us? And that really has developed and changed over the 18 months. So at the very start of it, it was all about communicating to our customers that stay home, stay safe. We're going to be ready when the world opens up to get things moving again. So reiterating that sort of, look, we're all in this together. We just need you to be safe as our passengers and our customer base. Then it was to look at, right, what do our customers are going to want from us when travel does open up again in terms of safety? So we did a lot of surveys with our customer base to understand, when travel does open, what are you going to expect of us as a tour operator from a safety perspective? So that was important, because you can run off and decide through your customer, right, all these safety protocols have got to put in play, but they do have to work with what your customer expectation is going to be as well. So that allowed us then to say, okay, we're going to come out with a policy which is called Travel with Confidence. And we're one of the first to come out with a policy. And it's interesting, that policy name has been used by, a number.
I was going to say, it's a name that I've seen across the travel industry.
Yes, and likewise, another policy I'm going to talk about is the same. But that was born of, right, okay, we know social distancing, wearing a mask, sanitization, where do we go and eat in, restaurants when we take our customers, all of these things, they were very quickly for us. There's an American term, table stakes. It's like a given. Our customers are going to expect us to do that as a tour operator. So it's not a competitive edge. It's just like, if you want to operate, that's the lay of the land now. Then at the same time, we started to think about this in terms of, well, if our customers expect this amount of safety as a per se, that we do have some customers that are probably a little bit more nervous about travel. Yeah. So could we create a suite of tours to take away any anxiety that they might have if they're a little bit more cautious? So we created a Travel with Confidence Plus collection, and that collection of tours had added extras to it. So like my own room, if you're on a transportation, you get your own seat, you're not sat next to somebody. So extra social distancing levels and such like. So that was important, so that if we had those customers, then we could cater to that. Then the other aspect is, everyone started talking about bubbles, like family bubbles, etc. So we looked at that and said, actually, what we could find is coming out of this is, you want to travel, but you might not want to travel with other people that you don't know. But you could travel with all your family or a group of friends. So we created a collection called Book Your Bubble. So that was literally, my family, your family. We take this, it's just us on that tour, create our own bubble, and off we go. So we built these things as we went through, understanding the ebb and the flow of consumers, what they're going to be looking for, what was happening, generally with COVID in the marketplace. And then the evolution from that point became Book with Confidence, which again, that term's now been used by a number of people. But that was the ability to say, like, actually, this is a changing environment, because we had the back end of last year where you got a traffic light system, and that was coming and going, and we had people going away on holiday, then the government would change their mind, and you see it scrambling back to get back before a deadline. So that creates a lot of uncertainty, as we all know, in both of the marketplace and for the consumer. So it's important that we put a policy in play that gave flexibility to our customers to be able to say, do you know what, actually, I've booked this destination, but it's not open. So as I'm getting closer to my departure point, I need to be able to pick that holiday up and move it without, cost and such like. So we set out with that. We've improved that policy. So it was like 30 days before departure. Now it's 14 days before departure that you can pick it up and move it to another point in time. That's actually become more prevalent now for the consumer, is that, making sure that they've got flexibility when they're booking to cope with the, constant changing that's going on. So, yeah, they're the sort of things that we've been working on. We also looked at the business and said, look, out of Ireland, where's the first place, places that we think travel will start to open up to? And clearly for us, we look at it and say, okay, it's likely to be the UK and Europe, going to be the first places. So one of the things that's important to us was like, how do we look at that? We've got a European product in place already, but actually some of the places going to open up will be your traditional package market destinations like your Ibizas, Corfus, etc. We don't have anything into those areas. So one of the things important to say, okay, if demand and airlift is going to go into those areas, we know we can create a great, product and tour into those places. So that's why we launched the European collection of tours that are like Ibiza, Corfu, Crete, Tenerife, Sicily, Italy. That's places that probably most people would think, that's not normal G Adventures territory, but actually offer up some brilliant touring, and hiking. And it was important for us to stay true to our brand, because that is what we stuck to. We could have looked at it and said, look, out of the Irish market, could we create some tours in Ireland? But the reality of the situation is, what value are we going to add to that? It's not core of what we do. And at the same time, most people could probably, go off and do that on their own. So we pivoted the business to look at like, how does travel open and how do we actually provide? And
it's Brian. I mean, you've answered about 7 of the questions that I had lined up for you, but let's. All this customer feedback is coming from, you've run 250 trips since you started, which is actually incredible given the circumstances. You have got 500 departures in August and September alone, which again are remarkable numbers given the lay of the land. Well, I guess a 2-part question is, who are they for? And most especially, particularly for our interest, is what's the message for agents?
Yeah. So in the first instance, we got 500. It's actually 570 tours that we've got in August and September, which, you're right, is a phenomenal amount. We're fortunate because of the globality of our business. We've got North Americans that can get into Costa Rica, can get to Peru. So we obviously have a number of tours. For the Irish marketplace, we have Europe, and we've developed out more tours in Europe. So therefore gives us that opportunity. And we're very lucky. We're an Irish-centric company, and we had to fill all the tours out of Ireland. Given everything, probably, we wouldn't have that amount of tours. It just wouldn't be possible. That's the benefit of G Adventures being a global business, is that I've got Americans in that part, I've got Canadians in that part, I've got Europeans, I've got Brits, and I've got Irish. So therefore we're filling a group of 16 quite quickly with people from all over. And that's what we've always, global company has been able to do anyway. So that's very fortunate for us. Obviously, all 570 are not available out of the Irish market, just because there's certain places that, we can't get to. But a good, I'd say 200 and something are. So that's, brilliant in that respect. And the key message for me with that to the agents is, look, touring is there, I know, because everything's like package, then it's suddenly the cruise line. So you can get on a cruise ship, it's going to do the islands and all the rest of it. And I sometimes feel like people dismiss the touring bit, forget about it, because it gets, such prominence has been put on those two sectors. But the touring and adventure space is massive. It always has been. It was growing at a ridiculous rate of knots anyway. And my message to, travel agents is, coming out of this pandemic, people are going to want experiences more so than ever, and reconnect with other people and with the world and the communities through which, they could get to around the world. And that's going to be so, everybody I speak to now, I know they're probably a little biased in their opinion because they know what I do for a living, but so many people have said to me, you know what, when we get out of this, your side of the travel industry is going to just go bananas, because everyone's going to want experiences. They're not going to want to just sit around on the beach, because we've been sat around in lockdown, got bored stupid anyway. We were quite fortunate that the first part of that lockdown was roasting hot for such a long period. But the reality is, people want to reconnect. And, I want to get traveling. I want to meet other people. I want to get, out into the world. And I want to do things that, I think what's happened in lockdown is people have realised that travel is actually precious. We've had it taken away from us. And when we come back, people not only want to travel better, but I think they realise that, I want a real experience. I want something that when I come back, either if I go with my family, that I can talk to my kids about in, like 5 years' time. Say, you remember when we went to Japan? We experienced this and we did that samurai, sword lesson, all of us together. Those are the sort of things that what we do, I think, are precious and are going to be more valuable to people. And that's why I say to our travel agent partners, that's here and now. That's always been the case. But I think now, more people want that, and we have lots of it. So get involved.
It's very true. And we never appreciate anything as much as when it's taken away from us. So, I'm glad to hear, and I echo that sentiment, that travel is precious, and it's not just some kind of additional commodity. It's so central to the experience of living. And yes, G Adventures is a global company. You have a reach in all the continents of the world, but you also operate in the Irish market. And John Grehan obviously represented G very ably for a very long time. He's no longer with G. Have you any plans to have an on-site Irish rep doing the work of G in Ireland?
We will do when the time is right,
Right.
And that could actually be John, in all honesty.
Sure.
Just a case of.
Let's talk. These are the many victims of the pandemic and what all that meant. But so there is definitely a plan in place.
No, listen.
Restore on the ground representation. That's good news.
Yeah.
You're going to launch. I want you to tell me a bit about the Can I Travel Yes You Fam competition for agents. So tell us a bit about that.
So that's another important facet for us. Is like, look, we've got all these tours, got these people traveling, and a lot of people haven't traveled for such a long time. I see all these pictures on Facebook, get a bit FOMO because they're on holiday traveling, and our travel agents have had it hard as well. There's no denying it. It's been a really tough time for travel agents in this last 18 months. So part of what we're trying to do is say, right, okay, look, we've got this tour, we want someone to win a place on it. I think it's a great tour because it's over to Portugal. It's the Highlights of Portugal tour that we've got operating. It's one of our classic trips, and it takes in Lisbon, Coimbra and Porto. There's it's like a Gothic monastery, which is very famous, but also it's
Sintra
for the Harry Potter Hogwarts.
It's not Sintra, is it?
It is called Coimbra.
Okay, sorry.
It's a famous
go on.
Coimbra. It's a World Heritage Site, actually, but it was the inspiration for Harry Potter's Hogwarts. But at the same time, they get to do port, wine, cellar tour in Porto. So it's a great trip. It's fairly close to home. So, we got the opportunity to say, look, you can travel. So, we've obviously used a play on words with that. But
I like it.
It's opened up and, agents get a chance to enter in with the opportunity for one of them to go away. And I think, as we go through this, we will look at how do we do more of that? Because I think it's an important thing. One, we want agents to get out and see, the fact that, the world's opening up. This is what it's like on a tour as well. Because, as well as I do, there's a lot of anxiety with customers that, I want to go away, but gosh, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. And, and actually there's no better way. And travel agents have been amazing in terms of giving customers advice. But at the same time, I think it's really powerful if a travel agent goes away with G and can then come back and talk to, like, all right, there was a bit, filling this out and that, but actually once it's done, and actually it's not as anxiety as you think it may create.
And so my read would be that companies like G Adventures that specialized in curated trips to off the beaten path destinations where there aren't masses and masses of people, this is perhaps ideal to a new landscape where these anxieties are heightened, concerns about what do I need to do, how do I need to protect myself, do I need to wear masks, social distancing, etc. So do you believe that this landscape is ripe for bringing new customers to the market?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I do think that, because the other aspect is, remember, like, we call them chief experience officers. They're the tour guides. They're with the group 24/7. So you've always got, somebody with the group that knows the local area. We don't fly in, Irish tour guides into India, as an example, to run a tour. They are local based. So there'll be an Indian national that knows, everything about the destination properly. And I think the fact that you've got someone with you 24/7, what we saw is the backpackers, as an example, that were, say, in Thailand, COVID hit and they were struggling to get themselves back because they were completely independent. And I think what that's also made people sit up and think, actually, do you know what? When we get traveling again, we need to go with a trusted, reliable company, and a brand that they trust. And that's where I think we definitely will bring in new passengers anyway. And we've even seen, in this period, that we've got more new passengers from the bookings that were taken in Ireland than beforehand against the repeats.
Okay. And so I presume this is one of the major selling points that you can approach agents with and say, look, this is the landscape now. This is the kind of deal we're offering, or this is the kind of experience we're offering. And the growing customer base exists to account for it.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that has, this sector, like I say, has been growing like phenomenally, full stop.
Sure.
And I just think when we get back, and things open up properly, then I just think it's going to explode at that point, because people, it's all about experiences over stuff.
I was going to say experiential travel has become one of those buzzwords, and not just now, has been for maybe 10 years. But are you seeing all of that reflected in your recent booking trends and stats?
Yeah, we are. So, and to give you an example of that, what we've seen, say, through lockdown is, nobody could do anything. You're allowed out for, what was it, an hour? So the only thing you could do is go for a wander off somewhere. So more people have walked, hiked, or whatever, and actually got reconnected back with nature in some respects. So what we saw through that was a real high propensity of searches for Kilimanjaro, Base Camp Everest, Peru, Machu Picchu trekking. So a lot of, and then on top of that, then it suddenly morphed into safari. So what you saw is like these bucket list type activities that we all say, I'd love to climb Kilimanjaro one day. They're saying it, and there's the reality of actually doing it, but it's always on a list of I want to, or I'd like to. Now what we're seeing is that factor of, actually, I've realized, having everything taken away from me from a travel perspective, those things that I said that I'd like to do, I'm going to absolutely do them coming out of this. So we definitely have seen, that's one example of coming through this, pandemic, and the bookings to back that up as well.
Okay, so, and then Brian, just one last question. We are August 2021. Travel is definitely on the way back. You're launching 570 odd trips this month and next month alone. Let's move forward 6 months. Where do you see G Adventures, and indeed just the general touring and adventure travel landscape?
Cool. Listen, if I could answer that question.
I love asking the hard question.
I'd be a millionaire by now.
You and me both.
Talk to me about it. Just so difficult to say. Look, I would hope, this is my hope, you know, we're seeing good vaccine take up. You know, where we need vaccines obviously to be rolled out across the world, and it does need to be equitable. So we need to see that happening. We need to see improvement of borders opening up in different, and I think, you know, we're currently seeing, you know, variation of like where people are at in terms of case rates and such like. I would hope that, you know, within 6 months' time, you know, that will have settled down. You'll have a lot of people in the market that will be looking to book for next year. So I think you're going to see, you know, people saying, look, you know, it's been 2 years now. We're in the market. We're going to book. That holiday might be, you know, in June. It might be in September. But at that point when it's due to travel, you know, I would hope that we're, you know, beyond that.
You actually touch on an important point. So obviously we here in Ireland, elsewhere, are concerned with vaccination rates. We want to make sure that the vaccine is rolled out in as quick and effective a manner as possible. But we in the first world have that distinct advantage that the vaccine rollout is far, far ahead of that in virtually everywhere else. But given that G Adventures covers the globe, that has to be a factor you must take into consideration.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, no, we have to look at that. I mean, we're always going to be at the behest of a destination opening its borders or not, you know, and that's why we have to pivot as a business to make sure that, you know, we can take opportunity to get people traveling wherever we can. But yeah, I mean, that's something that we're working towards, is just trying to make sure that, you know, our porters, our guides, etc., are vaccinated, you know, and then we look at that from the perspective of our customers, you know, in terms of tours, you know, vaccination rates, double vaccinated people, etc. So we have to balance all of those things up. You're right.
All right. Brian Young, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for taking the time.
Yeah, no, it's been a pleasure to speak to you as well.